911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hey everyone, how are you guys doing this evening? It's good to see all of you. Hey Maria, it's good to see you, my dear. Hi John. Hey Tech Death, how you doing? The babies are adorable. Hey Sierra, how are you? Hi Melissa. So guys, you'll bear with me. I had a really rough day. The last couple of hours have been really hard. I almost didn't go live, and I apologize. I was trying to decide if I should or not, but my daughter called me. I think it was about a little bit before 6, and my grand dog Bane, I think you guys have heard me talk about him. He's a English Mastiff. They've had him since he was 6 weeks old, and he was 8.5. They had to put him down today. He had cut his foot on his pad right before Christmas on something outside when he was in the yard, and it got infected. And this was right before Christmas. And so they called the vet, and the vet was like, well, let's just call in some antibiotics. And so they did. And he was on the antibiotics for a couple of weeks, and it was really hard for him to stand on it. He was 170 pounds. Mastiffs are really big. And so he was really hurting. And after he finished the antibiotics, sorry guys, they called him in. They wanted to see him. because it wasn't getting any better. And so they took him in about 10 days ago. No, I'm sorry. I think it was, yeah, about 10 days ago. It was right around New Year's. And they ended up doing surgery, and they cleaned it all out and took off his nail and said that, it looked like it was going to probably be okay at that point. But sadly, the infection had gotten into his bones in his foot. And in the last couple of days, he was in horrific pain. And so the doctors said that they think that instead of it being a cut is what they thought, that he may have had some sort of possibly even cancer or something going on with his bone and his foot, because the bone in his toe was completely gone. So they decided to go ahead and put him down. And so the whole family was there. Sorry, guys. But anyway, she asked me, she goes, "Mom, are you going to be able to go live?" And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna try. And so, yeah, he was a good dog. And poor Jackson, he's my 5-year-old, and he has had him his whole life. So this is his first experience with death. And he's pretty sad. So anyway, very hard. But the vet thought it was the best decision because of him being the breed that he was and as big as he was. It's not like some dogs where you can take off a foot or part of a leg or whatever, and they can get around really easily on 3. Not on this type of breed. You can't really do that. They're too big. So it's just not what I knew. He was at the vet today, but it's not what I expected to hear. So it's like losing your kids, So anyway, how is everybody else doing? Yeah, Paris, I did that with one of mine last May with kidney disease as well. And whew, it's tough, I lost my beloved Max, who was my golden retriever. He was 13. I lost him a year before in 2020 to cancer. So yeah, it just sucks. Thanks, John. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Tech Death. It's I'm a huge animal lover, and this just really threw me. Like I said, he laid on my feet at Christmas because my feet were cold, and then he laid in front of the fireplace with me, laid on my feet, and I covered him with a blanket. Here's this big, huge dog, and he always thought he was like a lap dog. Oh, Melissa, thank you. I hope you guys are all doing well. Was an interesting night last night, wasn't that? Did anybody watch that football game between Georgia and TCU? Wow. I would not have expected that game. I really thought Georgia would win, but I didn't think it was going to be a blowout. Um, I'm okay, Tech Death. I think I can. I think I can get through it. It'll be good for me. Hey, Danger Dave, how are you? I'd rather just, spend it with you guys. Hey, Gonzo, how are you? Thank you. Yeah, it was pretty tough. Just a pretty tough day. But I love all my doors and I love you guys and I like spending time with you. So here I am. And we'll have a good show tonight. Lots going on in the news. We're going to talk a little bit about Delphi too, because there is a court date on Friday for Richard Allen. So that should be interesting. And anyway, let's see here. I got to get my ducks in a row. Give me 1 minute. So on Friday, the defense had a motion that they filed on the 9th, and it was a supplemental motion for discovery for Richard Allen and a request for Rule 404 and 405 evidence. And it's been set for a hearing for January 13th at 10 a.m. The court also further ordered the defendant's ex parte motion and order authorizing funding for the fact investigators set for ex parte hearing also January 13th at 11. So those are all happening on this Friday. And it will be interesting to see what happens. Thank you so much, Polygraph. And thank you, Dave, so much. Hi, Mandy. Oh, Daisy, I hear you. I didn't want to cry, but I knew I would when I told the story of what happened to him. Love that dog. Okay. So that's what's going on. And it looks like when I was checking my case this afternoon, that's the only thing that's been added or changed, and everything else looks to be the same. The next hearing after this will be the one on the 17th of February, which is where they're going to talk about bail. But I think they have this motion that they placed on the 9th also has to do with some request for discovery. So the supplemental motion, they're wanting discovery. They want the names of the witnesses. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with all of that. So yeah, I'm kind of anxious to see what happens on on Friday, you guys. So no, not a trial, Melissa. His trial's not going to be for quite a while. These are all hearings. There'll be quite a few of them. He should be on. Hold on a second. Hold on 1 second, guys. I apologize. I knew I forgot to do this before I went live, so hold on. I knew I'd forget something. Just give me a sec. And thanks, John, for telling me, because I thought I had done it, but obviously I missed it. No. Copy. Paste. Save. Okay, he should be in there now, guys. So you can try it now. I took him out, John, the other night when you weren't here because he was being nasty to people. And he wasn't minding himself, so he got kicked. I did work on him a couple of times, but I'm hoping he behaves himself tonight. So let's hope. What's going on with my phone? That's really weird. Okay, I'm not sure what that was all about. My phone's on the charger behind me and it was all lit up and I was like, I didn't know what that was all about, but so that's what's going on with the Delphi stuff. And talk about that. I did want to talk about, I don't know if you guys have heard about the missing Massachusetts mother, Anna Walsh. But she went missing on January the 1st. And they have arrested. Hey, Frank Meister, how are you? Good to see you. They have arrested her husband for interfering with the investigation. Now, her husband is wearing an ankle bracelet for a federal crime. He's on house arrest. But hold on one second. I was trying to find the whole story, but let's see if this one gives us enough. But anyway, her husband, they did when they went into the home to look for her, they found blood in the basement. They also found a knife, and it just didn't look good. Well, they went ahead and they've been, like I said, they got a search warrant. They've been taking out evidence and all kinds of stuff from the home. And they found that he has the husband, Bryan Walsh. I don't know what with all the Bryans lately, but another Bryan searched how to dismember a body amid the Massachusetts mom's disappearance. And that's going to probably be really hard for his defense team to defend. And how to dispose of a 115-pound body as well, which is how much she weighed. She was a Tishman Speyer real estate executive, and she vanished on New Year's Day. And her husband, with whom she shares 3 children, he was arrested this past Sunday on a charge that he misled investigators on his whereabouts. 2 law enforcement sources have told CNN that police found internet records showing that the convicted art swindler had searched how to dismember a body and how to dispose of a 150-pound woman's body. His defense team is going to have a difficult time trying to overcome this. It isn't typical for someone to conduct these kinds of internet searches, specifically when your wife is missing. So he was arraigned on Monday, and entered a plea of not guilty. And I think at this point that they don't believe that she's missing anymore. They believe she's deceased, because they also found bags of cleaning supplies, bloody rags and cleanup stuff in the landfill today. And I think they believe that he has, they also found a hatchet, a hacksaw, and some other stuff, all in bags thrown in the landfill. So this guy obviously is in some serious trouble, where his missing wife is concerned. And what's so sad about this is that he has taken the mother of his small 3 children away from them. And it's just another one of these cases of where we have a mother who has been butchered by her husband and has left their children motherless and fatherless, because like I said, he's facing a federal court where, because he's an art swindler. So he's going to be going to jail as well. It's just terrible. But another story that, how sad is that? So let's see. I wanted to talk something wonderful about the Idaho case before we get into talking about all the ugly stuff about the Idaho case. But I don't know if you guys have heard or not, but Ethan Chapin was a beloved employee at Tulip Farm. And Andrew Miller is the co-owner and the CEO of the Tulip Valley Farms in the state of Washington. And one of the employees that worked along with Ethan came to him and asked him if they could name a tulip after Ethan. He thought that would be something that would be really awesome if they did. Ethan worked there. He loved his friends, his family. He loved country music, and he loved the Tulip Farm. And he lived in Mount Vernon, Washington. And so Andrew, when he heard this, he told the employee, well, sure, I don't think that let me check into how we can go about doing that. Well, he said that Ethan was the kind of kid that he could put onto doing the hardest of jobs with the people who might have been grumpy, and they wouldn't be grumpy anymore because Ethan always made everyone smile, because Ethan was always smiling. Reese Gardner was 18 years old, and she became really good friends with Chapin. And he was always just the nicest guy out on the field. She said she would go to work when she wasn't scheduled, just so she could hang out with Ethan. So what they ended up deciding to do is they wanted to find this unique way to honor him. And so what they did is they picked out this beautiful yellow tulip, and they picked out a gorgeous white tulip, and they are creating these packages of bulbs, tulip bulbs, to honor Ethan. And the tulip package or mix will be called Ethan's Smile. So they've named the tulip mix after him, and now there will be gardens with the mix. at Tulip Valley Farms, as well as Ethan's elementary school. And they're going to place these tulips for sale, I think, as well, to anyone who would like to have them in their garden. And they said that there were very many reasons why they chose the yellow and the white for the mix, including the fact that yellow is one of the primary colors of the University of Idaho and of Ethan's elementary school. But there's the symbolism as well. Yellow is a joy color and white is an eternal color. So to be able to really combine the eternal joy that Ethan brought into the world, he said, and to be able to extend that is pretty meaningful. And to call it Ethan's smile, they said, that was just so fitting because of how Ethan was and who he was. Miller said he will remember Ethan standing in the tulip fields with this big smile, surrounded by the people that know and love him. That's exactly how I will always remember him, with just a big smile looking out. He said there was never an ounce of bad in that guy. He was just so nice and kind, and I think the tulips are a great way to remember him, because you can look out and see them and they will remind you of Ethan because of how pure he was and that he was a beautiful person. And you can see that represented in the tulips. And next spring, the yellow and the white tulips are going to begin to bloom. They've already planted 25,000 Ethan's smile in the field for anybody that wants to come out next spring to the Tulip Festival at Tulip Valley Farms and see it. Gardner says they also plan to try and get Ethan's Smile Tulip Mix planted at the University of Idaho and at the Mount Vernon High School where he went to school. And he said that it'll be great because teachers can walk by and grab a handful of tulips and put them in a vase in their classroom or take them and put them at home. And they're going to sell the tulip mix for anyone around the country who wants to plant Ethan's Smile in their own gardens. And I just thought that that was amazing. When I heard about it and I watched the interview that they did on TV, I think it was on Fox that I saw it, I was just amazed. It brought tears to my eyes because I thought, what a unique way to memorialize him. And yeah, he's from Mount Vernon. So yeah, I thought that that was a wonderful thing, guys. So just keep that in mind if you guys are into flowers or have gardens, and you can check them out and see about getting some of that mix so that you can plant them. I think I'm going to get some and plant them in my flower bed. I just thought it would be really cool. So let's get into the stuff about Bryan Kohberger. I did find an article that I wanted to talk to you guys about because I thought it was interesting. A lot of people have been coming out and talking. We're finding a little bit more each day, which I knew we would, about Bryan. We're finding a little bit more of what kind of a person he was. And it seems like there might have been some warning signs, as we always know there are to some of these guys, but it's really easy to look back after the fact and say that. But hold on a second, I just want to move my screens a little bit here. See if I can do this. So there was an article. Get over here. That Newsweek did about a woman who went on a Tinder date with Bryan. And the woman went to the movies with him after matching with him on the dating app. And she posted this in a TikTok video on Monday, which has since been viewed more than 1 million times. And she said that they matched on Tinder and talked for a couple of hours. And then he was like, hey, you want to go to the movies with me tonight? And she was like, sure. So they went to the movies. The date took place, she said, about 7 years ago. However, her contact with Kohberger was very brief, lasting no more than 24 hours. And she basically said she did not recall the movie that they went to see, but she remembered that she and Kohberger ended up at her college dorm afterwards. And Kohberger invited himself inside, she said, and wanted to watch another movie on Netflix. She said he kept trying to touch her, not like inappropriately, just like trying to tickle and like rub her shoulders and stuff. And she was like, why are you touching me? Or what are you doing? And that prompted him to get super serious, she said. And he's like, I'm not. And I'm like, you are though. And he's like, I'm not touching you. Kind of like trying to gaslight me into thinking that he didn't touch me, which is weird. The woman then said she told Kohberger she was going to go to the shared bathroom in her dorm and that he followed her there. He didn't go in with her, but like stood outside the door and like, I don't know, I just thought that was really weird, she said. In an effort to get him to leave, she pretended to throw up, but not because she was afraid of him. It wasn't because I was scared of him or anything like that, or like I thought he was going to hurt me if I asked him to leave. It was just mostly because I'm socially awkward and I didn't know how to ask him to leave. She said he then sent her a message on Tinder saying he was leaving. Awesome. My plan worked. And then about an hour later, he texted her and said that she had good birthing hips. So she never talked to him again. Just crazy. Kohberger was a doctoral student and a teaching assistant in the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology at Washington State University. And he, as we all know, he's facing 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. He's accused of breaking into the rental house on the University of Idaho campus, or near the campus, in the early morning hours of November 13th and fatally stabbing Kaylee Goncalves, 21, Madison Mogen, 21, Xana Kernodle, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20. The 4 were found dead in the house after a 911 call later that day to report an unconscious person. The woman lived in the house with 2 other roommates who were unharmed, while Chapin was visiting Kernodle, his girlfriend. A probable cause affidavit unsealed on Thursday said that the DNA evidence, the surveillance footage, and the cell phone records led law enforcement to Kohberger as the suspect in the killings. He made his first appearance in an Idaho court on January 5th after being extradited from Pennsylvania, where he was arrested at his parents' home on December the 30th. Kohberger's public defender in Pennsylvania, Jason Labar, said his client was eager to be exonerated of the charges and should be presumed innocent until proven otherwise. Attorneys, investigators, and others in this case are now barred from talking after a judge placed them under a sweeping gag order. In a follow-up video on TikTok, the woman explained that she posted the video about her date with Kohberger to dispel rumors that began circulating after she wrote a comment on Facebook about it. She added that she also wanted women to be cautious when meeting up with strangers. Just be aware of who you are meeting up with and maybe save another 19-year-old girl from being stupid. She said, I was lucky that he didn't hurt me, and I was lucky that no one else I went on dates with on Tinder with hurt me, but things could have ended very differently. And what I think is interesting here is that it just kind of shows you, in my mind, yeah, I think it was awkward all the way around. She admits that she was awkward socially, but he was definitely awkward. And you can see in the interaction that they had that he was awkward socially. You don't go on a first date with someone and start tickling them. I mean, that to me is just not what you do. And it makes me think that he doesn't have, any idea on how to interact with women for sure. And excuse me. And I thought it was interesting that he would invite himself inside to watch movies. He would follow her to the bathroom. Who does that? You don't even know the person really. You've just met them and you've only spent a short time with them, and you're following them to their bathroom. That's real creepy to me. And then to retext something like, you have great birthing hips. I just can't even imagine. I just can't even imagine doing that to someone or saying that to someone. So yeah, and I get it. This is her account of their date or whatever. So it's one-sided, but I think it does say a little bit about the kind of person that Bryan was or is. There have been numerous reports that he was very aggressive towards females in the classroom, with other students when he was a student. So that's interesting as well. I get that, Melissa, but do you tickle strangers or people you just met? That's all. There was an article that was written in People magazine a few hours ago. It was posted online, and it says that the Idaho murder suspect spoke about the slain students during his extradition and said that it's really sad what happened to them. He has largely remained silent after he was charged with this crime, but he made small talk with officers while he was being extradited from his home in Pennsylvania and then booked into the Latah County Jail. He seemed really nervous, a police source who was involved in the process told People. He was narrating to himself everything that was happening. At one point, he was saying something to himself like, I'm fine, this is okay. Like he was reassuring himself that this whole thing wasn't awful. Kohberger was read his Miranda rights during his arrest, and cannot be questioned about the case without an attorney present. He didn't speak directly to the officers about the case, but the police source says that he did make an offhand comment about it and say that it's really sad what happened to them, but he didn't say anything more. And the source said he's smarter than that. Kohberger was arrested on December 30th in connection with the November murders of Ethan, Xana, Madison, Kaylee, and all 4 victims had been stabbed with a fixed blade knife. He is currently being held in the Latah County Jail, which is adjacent to the courthouse. It is less than 2 miles away from where the murders happened. Although the jail can house up to 37 inmates, Kohberger is being kept away from everyone else for his own safety. He keeps to himself. He's away from other prisoners, says a source in the jail, but he will make small talk with the guards and seems to be getting used to the place. And he will be back in court for his pretrial hearing on January the 12th, where he is expected to enter a plea to the charges against him. Now, in this revelation about what he said and the fact of, I was astonished when I read that, but at the same time, I was also really intrigued by the way they said that he was seeming really nervous and that he was narrating the whole time and basically talking to himself, like reassuring himself. And the whole narrating thing reminds me of something. Now, I don't know anything about Bryan Kohberger or his mental diagnoses or anything that he may have or may not have going on as far as a mental diagnosis. But the behavior of the narration of things is very similar to someone who's on the spectrum. And I'm kind of, because he's so highly intelligent and so awkward socially, it makes me wonder if he is possibly way high up on the spectrum. It just makes me wonder about that. And I've said that before about some other things that I've read about him. It just really makes me wonder. But I definitely do not think that, if he is trying to put himself in the position for a defense, Idaho does not have an insanity plea. So he can't use that on the state of Idaho. And that won't work for him there. So if that's what he's trying to do, I think it'll be really interesting to see how this all plays out. But crazy, right, you guys? Just really crazy. So graduate school peers of Bryan's, recall him as actively engaged in their Washington State University criminal justice and criminology program, someone who sought connections while also sharing little about his past in his first semester as a doctoral student. He presented a social aptitude with colleagues, making casual conversations between classes. 2 master's students who shared several first-year courses with him told the Idaho Statesman. That lined up with Kohberger's demeanor at the program's orientation last fall, when he was one of the first people to introduce himself to others in their group of 13 incoming students. One of his classmates said. He seemed gregarious and outgoing, And that was really the only impression that I got. Ben Roberts, a criminal justice graduate student, said in a phone interview with the Idaho Statesman. He was making the rounds. He definitely seemed a little more eager than some of the others that were present to go around and introduce himself. During class, Kohberger appeared academic-minded and didn't shy away from speaking up, including challenging his classmates, said Roberts, and another master's degree student who the Statesman granted anonymity to answer emailed questions. Kohberger's enthusiasm for his area of study and understanding the criminal mind was regularly on display. Bryan only talked about his interest in forensic psychology, the master's student told the Statesman. He was an incredibly strong student and talked during class every time. He sat front and center and was not hiding or tucking back in the back. He was right there in the middle of it. As a result, Kohberger's non-participation in a lengthy conversation about the Moscow homicides stands out in retrospect, said the master's student. The person said they had 4 classes with the man now sitting in the Latah County Jail, including a courts and legal process class where the killings were actually discussed before the semester ended the week of December 12th. He was completely silent, Kohberger's classmate said. Kohberger, who faces a felony burglary charge in addition to the 4 counts of murder, is awaiting his day in court. And police began looking at Kohberger as a suspect as early as November 29th, according to the 19-page probable cause document that was released last Thursday. Law enforcement arrested Kohberger at his family's home in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, on December the 30th while he visited them over the holiday break from school. And he waived extradition last Tuesday and was flown to Pullman and driven to the Moscow jail, and made his first Idaho court appearance last Thursday. I'm shocked, the Washington State University master's student told the Statesman. I can't believe this person was around me after they allegedly committed such a horrible crime. Kohberger was one of 34 students in the Washington State Criminal Justice and Criminology graduate program, and the Statesman obtained the information in a review of the program's website that identified each one of the students before the university quickly took it down after the Moscow Police Department announced Kohberger's arrest. We removed the webpage containing the listing and contact information for graduate students in the CJC department, the link read last Friday, citing privacy protections and directing all media inquiries to a school spokesperson. We stand in sympathy with the families of all victims of this horrible crime and remain dedicated to the pursuit of justice. The website previously showed the program comprised 24 PhD students, including Kohberger, and 10 students pursuing their masters. Prior attempts by the Statesman to reach members of the program did not receive a response beyond the 2 master's students who agreed to interviews. Kohberger also was listed as an assistant instructor for 3 undergraduate criminal justice courses led by Professor John Snyder, the department's criminal justice club advisor and global director. The university has since removed his name online in that teaching assistant role. Snyder declined to comment when reached on his cell phone by the Statesman the day of Kohberger's arrest. The department's chair, graduate program director, and 3 of Kohberger's other WSU course instructors also declined comment through the university spokesman. Roberts, one of only 4 men in the graduate program outside of Kohberger, agreed to a few interviews, including with the Statesman. It's a story that's affected people, so I don't know if I kind of want to satiate curiosity, but do that by offering something so people don't speculate as much. Good luck with that. In a handful of conversations outside of the classroom with Kohberger, Roberts said that two talked a little about music and sports, and that Kohberger at one point mentioned he loved to hike. The discussions were just pretty typical icebreaker chats between new colleagues, Roberts said, including how Pullman was much different from the places each of them grew up. In class, Kohberger mostly came off as professional, Roberts said, although he said he was put off when Kohberger began to consistently show himself to be more forceful and condescending with women during seminar discussions. It's hard to see a pattern emerging while you're in the classroom, but he would tend to push back when a female was talking more than a male, Roberts said. He was more keen on asking probing questions and things like that. The other master's student said that Kohberger talked down to LGBTQ individuals, those who are in a marginalized community, those who were disabled, and women. Kohberger also declared himself someone who believed in traditional marriage, his classmates said. In another incident, Kohberger's classmates said a colleague hung a Pride Alley flag on the door of their office, and Kohberger became noticeably upset. Kohberger didn't say much about his career goals. Each student said or talk about his master's degree in criminal justice from DeSales University in Pennsylvania, not far from where he grew up. But while at DeSales, located just southeast of Allentown, Kohberger studied under well-known forensic psychologist Dr. Catherine Ramsland, who for one of her books collaborated with serial murderer Dennis Rader, known more widely as the BTK killer. Ramsland has not done an interview as of to date and refused requests for comment from the Idaho Statesman, but confirmed to the Lehigh Valley News that Kohberger was a former student, but she did not comment any further. He rarely talked about his past academic history and the academic program that he was in. The master's student said, "I had no idea Bryan had studied under famous forensic psychologists. After the November 13th knife attacks that left 4 undergraduates dead about 9 miles east of Pullman in Moscow, Idaho, neither student recalled Kohberger with any injuries or behaving in any way out of the ordinary." The master's student who spoke anonymously said they had a class with Kohberger on November 15th and do not remember anything that would have stood out. Once late in the semester, Roberts thinks it was before Thanksgiving break, Kohberger mentioned to Roberts that he had not slept much the night before. "I do remember it wasn't the week before or week after the homicides because I think that would have raised an alarm bell in my head. I believe it was right when we had some pretty heavy assignments, and I don't think any of us were getting any sleep." Police said Kohberger made at least a dozen visits to the area near the Moscow rental house where the victims were killed, based on cell phone records, site location data that was obtained from AT&T in a search warrant, according to the probable cause affidavit. All of these occasions, except for one, occurred in the late evening or early morning hours of their respective days. For Roberts, the allegations against and arrest of Kohberger remain stunning, and he continues to feel a sense of unease. "Much has been thrown into disarray," Roberts said, as the SU department built around educating students why people commit horrific crimes is forced to confront the fact that one of its own now stands accused of perpetrating such an incident. The stories you are reading in the paper, the cases that you are reviewing, the studies you are doing, it can be easy to forget that they are connected to real people. And it's the real world and real consequences, Roberts said. People lose people and find their kids' beds empty. There's a real heaviness looking at that and realizing and remembering. This is not just some sterile academic subject. This is something that affects real people forever. I thought that was a really telling article, great interview with the students that were in class with him, and really said a lot. And one of the other things that I agree with them as far as, we've all talked about that in here, about how these cases affect real people and all of the hype and everything that gets around them on social media. Sometimes it just makes people forget that. But I'm glad Pigeon Mac posted that, because the digital forensics, he applied for an internship with the police department in Pullman in the fall and wanted to help them with technological evidence collecting, which is digital forensics, which is what he got caught on, which I think is absolutely hilarious when you stop and think about it. There's just so much out there. I mean, if he gets a degree in criminology, there's a lot of paths that he could have taken with that, depending on, he's getting his doctorate, and a lot of people who get their PhD go on to teach in some capacity. But, he would be considered an expert after getting his doctorate on topics. He would be like a person people would seek out to talk and use on the witness stand when they're talking about this subject, when they are talking about all the different aspects of criminology. Because criminology people, I think, tend to believe that a criminology degree, it's a general degree on criminology. It doesn't have the, what am I trying to say? It's like fine-tuned. He didn't have a good handle on crime scenes, or he would have done a whole lot of things differently. He didn't have like experience or education in certain aspects of crime. He was very interested in the psychological aspect. We all know that, and he admitted to that. And I think that, maybe he wanted to go into forensic psychology and be a profiler. I mean, there's all different kinds of things that they can do with that PhD in that field. But it's kind of scary, because I don't think he's Dexter, because the Dexter character so-called killed bad people, criminals, people that had committed other crimes. He didn't go out and kill innocent college students. But I do want to get into talking a little bit about the evidence and the knife But before we do that, let's talk about the roommate. She has been taking so much flack on social media, you guys. It's so crazy. Every day it's just more and more, and I feel terrible for her. People have no idea what this poor woman has gone through, the survivor guilt that she's dealing with, the terror that she could have been going through. But a roommate in 1992, there was a Buffalo attack, and she defended the Idaho roommate for the delayed call to police, and she told the media and social media to back off. And so this is her story. A woman who found her college roommate nearly dead more than 3 decades ago spoke out in defense of the surviving roommate in the University of Idaho murders on Monday, amid mounting questions surrounding her 8-hour delay in calling the police. I really hope that the media can just back off a little bit and allow her to heal, because it's going to be a very long process. Alana Zabel, age 50, told Fox News in an interview on America Reports, where she recalled her own haunting memories, which were reignited by the case. The surviving Idaho roommate, identified only as DM, is facing public pressure to explain why she didn't immediately call the police after she came face to face with the suspected killer on the morning of November 13th. I'm sure she was trying to put the pieces together, Zabel said. According to her attorney, DM was left paralyzed with fear and afraid to leave her bedroom after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. The 4 victims were stabbed to death between 3 and 4 a.m., which we know now that's not true. It was between 4 and 4:20. Police received an 11:58 a.m. call requesting aid for an unconscious person rather than a possible murder victim. Police arrived around noon and located the 4 victims. The roommate's response that morning resonated deeply for Zabel, who has described eerie similarities between her own experience and the harrowing quadruple homicide in Idaho. Zabel believes in her case that she went into survival mode, making her unable to mentally process what she had seen when she found her roommate nearly dead in a 3-story home with 5 Chi Omega sorority sisters while attending the University of Buffalo in 1992. Zabel entered her friend's room to ask her to move her car when she was overpowered by a foul smell. At that point, Zabel said she hadn't noticed any blood and assumed the victim had choked to death on her own vomit. It was only when the paramedics arrived and commented on the amount of blood that Zabel realized the room was covered in blood and that her initial inability to see it was a trauma response. She was later informed that her roommate had been brutally beaten and raped. I saw no blood, but a lot of liquid, so I assumed that she had choked on her vomit and was unconscious. It was not until the paramedics came and I was walking behind the paramedic in the hallway that he stopped and stepped backward like, "Oh my God, look at all the blood." And as soon as he said blood, the room was filled. The mattress was 3/4 soaked in blood and she was covered in blood. I did not see it beforehand. When you are in the heightened state of fear and survival, your mind will do what it has to do to protect you. The mind is a very powerful thing, and when you live with 5 other people, and it's a very party aspect, college life, where it could be a fraternity prank, or there are multiple people moving through the house at all times, you always want to assume that it's not the worst case scenario. Earlier Monday on America Reports, former LAPD detective Mark Furman credited DM for opening her door 3 times when she heard a noise coming from a different part of the house, eventually coming face to face with the suspect. Because of her encounter, she was able to provide a detailed description of the man to police, helping them hone in on suspected killer Bryan Kohberger. The third time she saw the suspect without that description of the suspect, and very accurate description, mind you, especially the bushy eyebrows, they never would have been able to make a nexus between the Elantra and Bryan Kohberger's physical description, Furman said. Zabel urged the police to allow DM the space, the public, to allow DM the space she needs to work through her trauma from that day, telling Fox News host Sandra Smith that from her own experience, it's not going to be quick healing. I ran from it. That this was a different age 30 years ago. You know, no one asked if you're okay, if you went to therapy. My college did not give me extensions. It's a totally different time. But also she has against her social media and people being armchair quarterbacks saying, this is what you should have done. No one knows what they would have done in that situation. And we can only try to surround her with support. And hopefully she is with a professional and also with a loving family and group of friends to help her get through this, because it is not going to be easy and it won't be quick healing. This is going to be with her for the rest of her life. So you guys, when you see those stories out there that are bashing her and accusing her, you know, man, it's just incredibly crazy. I just can't, I don't understand it. I never will. And you guys know how I feel about all that. So I just found that article, and I was really glad that she came forward and told her story so that people would understand a little bit of what she went through. I mean, and it was 30 years ago. So one of the things that I thought was interesting, and I'm trying to find my article because I had it, and I think I must have closed it because I can't find it. I was going to show it to you guys. Hold on a second. That's not it. There was a photo that went floating around on social media yesterday of Bryan Kohberger's dad. Oh, there it is. Outside cleaning up around the yard and the house where law enforcement did all the damage when they went into the house to arrest him. They had one of those front doors that had those big oval stained glass windows in it, and they broke that completely out, I guess, when SWAT went in. So I'm hoping, you guys, that we can look at this and that this will not be blurry. I'm hoping. We're going to try it anyway. Hold on a sec. I'm going to share my screen with you. So this here is a map of kind of what went on. So here we go. there are the car, Bryan's car, Bryan's car makes 3 passes by Walenta Drive. He made 3 passes by the house and then makes an exit on Walenta Drive, and there is no explicit indication of the car's precise location when this happens in the PCA. All right, the car has entered, so here it is. We're coming down here. The car has entered the neighborhood for the final time and is seen traveling eastbound. The PCA does not state the precise location. All right. So he circles in front of the house. He goes around 3 times and then enters in here. Enters into the neighborhood and comes down this way. And he turns around in front of 500 Queens Road, unit number 52. And this is in the PCA document. All right. And then he attempts to park. And here's the house. So here's the house. And he attempts to park or to turn around in front of 1122 King Road. And this is also in the PCA. He's unable to do so. So he continues this way and he completes a 3-point turn right here and drives eastbound. And that is also in the PCA. He leaves the neighborhood at 4:20. No precise location in the PCA at all. And then here he is located, and this is where it shows him leaving and exiting out this way. The car is observed traveling southbound on Walenta Drive, and there was no precise location in the PCA. But I will tell you this, that he was seen leaving with a great abundance of speed when he left the neighborhood. And then hold on, let's see what this is over here. So this here is a 50-foot distance between Xana's room, where the security camera is at. And hang on a second, because I want to be able to read to you about this. So here is Xana's room, and the security camera is down here. And approximately 4:17 a.m., the security camera located at the 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of 1122. So 1112, which is right, this is 1122, and this is 1112. Picked up distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times, starting at 4:17 a.m. The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Xana Kernodle's bedroom. So that definitely picked up what was happening in that house. For sure. And 50 feet is not very far at all. Oh, you're welcome, Pigeon. It's so hard. It's so hard to, to figure. So anyway, he was He leaves the neighborhood, you guys, and he, instead of going back home, I was going to try and find a map because it's so much easier on a map. And I know, hold on, let me see. Excuse me. I know there's one out there that shows where he left. But instead of going the back straight road that everyone takes to go from Moscow to Pullman, that's only 10 miles away, he drove south and took this big, huge, winding way home. And it leads me to believe that he disposed of the knife on that drive. And I, obviously I could be wrong, but I'm thinking, you just committed this crime. You want to get that knife as far away from you and the crime scene as possible, right? What better way to do that? Because why would he go that direction? Why would he, what was his reasoning for doing that? He would have to have a reason. I don't think he would do it for just no reason. And my thought was that there's many spots along there. In fact, someone sent me an email and said that there's a river right along there. And I don't know if that's true. I haven't looked that up, but if there's bodies of water around there, that would make perfect sense. But I know a lot of people said, well, they think that he would want to keep the knife as a souvenir. I think the knife is too volatile of a piece of evidence for him to keep it. The dog was in Kaylee's room, is where the dog was. And it is assumed that he put the dog in there. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, I think we'll have to wait to figure that one out, or to find that out. But we do know that at 9:12, his cell phone pinged again near the house. So he came back. Did he come back to retrieve the knife sheath that he left on the bed next to Maddie? Because he realized once he got away that he didn't have it with him, and that he must have left it there. I mean, that's possible, obviously. I tend to think more along the lines that he came back because he hadn't heard anything on the news or on the radio or anything, and he may very well have been listening to a police scanner. There's no way to know, but there was nothing coming out about what had just transpired there, and he wanted to see. He came back because he wanted to see what was happening at that location. Someone posted on Twitter, I think Fox News has it posted on their site, that somebody has a video of when the police did arrive and the police were there, and it shows along that back road behind 1122, you can see a white car driving, and people were wondering if that was Bryan, and if he actually showed back up again when the police were actually at the house. But I definitely think he came back to look to see why police and ambulances and stuff weren't there yet. He wanted to see what was going on because he wanted to know. I believe that this guy wants fame. I believe he wants to be known for what he did. When you talk to the students that was in class with him, he was quick to answer questions and show how smart he was. He wanted to be the center of attention. He was right in the center up front in the class, and he wanted to be seen. And it's very possible, Pigeon. It is very possible that he did that. That is very, very possible. Oh, cool. Thank you, Steve. So he went outside and measured 2 of his vehicles. 50 feet is 3 car lengths. That's not very far at all. But yeah, I had not thought of that either, that he may have wanted someone left alive so he would have someone to report it. But that's pretty interesting. But I definitely think he wants to be noticed. And he wanted to be able to watch and see. And I think that that's what's kind of creepy and eerie about this case, is now that we know who they suspect did it, that he was probably knee deep in this investigation as far as watching everything that they were doing, watching all of social media, watching all of the reports, watching everything that he could get his hands on. We know that he was an active user on Reddit. I imagine he was here on YouTube, and he was watching the coverage of his case. And the fact that he seemingly thought he was good to go and that he was going to get away with this, because they didn't law enforcement kept everything so close to the vest. Nobody knew what they knew by the 29th of November. And they already had him in their sights. And it took him another month to arrest him. So, he goes outside and thinks, wow, nobody's here. Nobody's looking at me. Nobody's here looking for my car. I'm good to go. You would think after the 29th of November, they would have been watching him to see if he went back to the house or went back to the neighborhood. Awesome, Steve. We all work so much better together, right? That's awesome. But yeah, I've just been wondering about that doggone knife, because I doubt they'll find it, is my opinion, because I think he probably got rid of it. And if he didn't get rid of it on the drive back to the apartment or to his condo or apartment or whatever he lived in, it's very, very possible he got rid of it on the drive home to Pennsylvania. I've seen a lot of questions as to why did they drive south to Colorado and go home across I-70 instead of I-80. And I think the reason that they did that was because of weather. There was a lot of bad weather happening across the mountain and northern central part of the country. at the time that he went home. And I'm assuming that they went farther south, hoping to miss that weather. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different places. You can't spell vehicle, but it's 16 and a half feet long. I can't even imagine, John, what must have happened when the SWAT team entered that house, and broke open that window of that door and broke that door in, because they broke that front door in. And I mean, can you imagine being sound asleep and have that happen in the middle of the night in your house? I would be terrified as to what was going on, and not in a laughing matter, because, you just worry, do they have the right house? I'm sure you can imagine. Steve, I'm sure you can imagine. You've done it many times, I'm sure. It's just got to be frightening. So Indy Pam says he drove south and he crossed the Snake River. And yeah, he could have thrown it there. I do believe that for sure he disposed of the knife. I just do. I just feel that. I don't feel he kept it. Yeah, Deb, that was his parents' home, where they used the battering ram or whatever they used to break in the door. Yeah. And I feel sorry for his parents, because you just have to worry about how that would have been so frightening for them to not know what the heck was happening at their house. Yeah, pure shock. And I don't know if his sister was there at the time or not, but he's got a sister. And there was pictures of her, by the way, you guys. If you remember the last time I talked to you guys, we talked about the fact that they stopped removing the stuff out of the house. They were going to go in and clean it. They had a company come in and they made them stop all that. The court did, because the defense wanted to have access to the crime scene as it was. So they did get that over the weekend, and his sister, Bryan Kohberger's sister, was seen there taking photographs along with his attorney. And people were up in arms that his sister would be allowed on that, at that crime scene. Now, I don't know if that was his sister. I'm just saying there were photographs put out online, and they showed them, and they said that it was his sister along with the lawyer. Really? Very interesting. Well, I can definitely see how it would make someone pee their pants or worse. I can definitely see that. For sure. I just think it's amazing that all the evidence that they do have, and it's going to be interesting to see how the defense plays this, and how the defense is going to get around all of this, because all of the data that they have, that cell phone data is highly damning. Not only the fact that he was there 12 times in the months prior to the actual murders, but the fact that his cell phone was turned off right before entering the neighborhood and turned back on just a short while after the murders. So, thank you, Jones, so much. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's been a sad day for my family. But yeah, yeah, Deb, I saw that too, that he was known to not be very kind to his father. It's going to be interesting to see what the defense is for him. And I'm glad they don't have an insanity defense because, like I said, I just don't want to see him go that direction, because everything in the way he was behaving and everything, I mean, this was premeditated. This was obviously he's innocent until proven guilty, but this crime was, what was I going to say? It was premeditated, this crime. He stalked them. He stalked this house, and he did it for months. And then for whatever reason decided that that was going to be the day. So what are your guys' thoughts on what you think happened to the knife? Where do you guys think it's at, or what do you guys think he did with it? I'm just curious to get your take on it. There's been a lot of body of water. Yeah, same. And especially if he crossed the Snake River. That would be a great place to ditch it. Yep, Pigeon says definitely has to have ditched it. Yep. Verbal Judo said buried in a place for him to later come back and get. Very highly possible, for sure. Grunge says buried on a running trail. Yeah, because he definitely liked to be out and run. He was a runner, for sure. So that's possible as well. All good thoughts. Well, I'm anxious to see what happens on Thursday in court. Do you guys think that he's going to plead not guilty when he has to enter his plea on Thursday to the charges? Steve said if he was going to keep it, The loss of the sheath changed that plan, and statistically it would be in water. Yep. Agreed. Yeah, I don't think he planned on leaving the sheath. I've heard people say that they thought he did that on purpose, but I definitely don't think he would have left that. I think that was something that happened in the throe of everything. I think it got pulled off of him, more than likely, by one of the girls who was fighting for her life. Yeah, John, I think he's arrogant enough to plead not guilty as well. Yeah, I see him pleading not guilty because I think he wants to see the whole spectacle. I think he wants to see the court spectacle. He wants to see what the attorneys are going to do to pin this on him and all the evidence. And I think he wants to watch it all play out. I really do. Grunge says, look at all the places he normally runs and check the national park he went to. Yep. He was all over the place. But yeah, he's definitely very arrogant. Definitely. So like I said, we got a lot of people covering this case. There's a lot of stuff out there to watch and to see. I think we have to be careful because I think there's a lot of stuff that's being held up as fact that isn't. So guys, be careful about that. Some of the stuff I saw, I am really doubting all of those recordings of so-called the last words or sounds coming from the victims. I don't believe that. I think somebody has made that up. I don't think that would have been leaked. So be careful. I'm not sure which the doorbell audio is, Grunge, if that's the hearing the screaming and all of that. No, I don't believe that stuff is real. Steve said if this is his Bundy model, he will fight the charges. If like BTK, Green River, or Golden State, he'll plea. Yeah. It will be interesting to see what he does. But I appreciate everybody hanging around tonight. And do you guys have anything else any other questions or anything else you want to talk about regarding Bryan and the case in general? It's okay, Steve. It's okay. I have issues at times too, so don't worry about it. Yeah, I don't know either, Grunge, but I'm just saying I don't feel like it is. That's just how I feel. But I don't know, obviously, one way or the other. I just don't think it is. And I know that there's been others out there that have done stuff like this. We just had someone do something like this, and a big YouTuber that did something like this. So just be careful. I don't know. I agree with you. I have no idea why people do stuff like that. I think it's absolutely disrespectful to the families, to the victims. And I know we have a lot of weird people that follow true crime for whatever reason. And it's truly sad. I just try to take everything in with like a grain of salt, kind of, and really think about it when you hear it. And it's really sad. Hey, Deb, how are you? I hope you are well. But I'm going to say goodnight to all of you. Thank you so much for watching and being here with me. Please make sure that you hit the like and the subscribe button. That really helps me a lot. Thanks for everyone who donates to my channel, whether it be through PayPal or Super Chats or Super Thanks or Super Stickers. For all of those of you who will be watching this on the replay, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you very, very much. And everyone who is my moderator that sticks with me through thick and thin, Maria, John, Pigeon, Tech Death, all of you guys, I appreciate you so much. Please make sure that you treat people with kindness and love, because it doesn't take much to pay it forward. Good night, everybody, and have a good evening.